courses. However, beyond these technical dimensions lies a more profound and continuous process, our development as reflective practitioners. Continuing professional development is not an obligation. It is a commitment to excellence, to our learners and to ourselves. We are honored to welcome our institutional authorities to this inaugural event of English Week at PCN. Dr. Juan Manuel Guel Rodríguez, Director General, Maestra Vianey Covarrubias Cervantes, Directora Académica, y Maestra Fátima Guadalupe Fabián Venegas, Directora Administrativa. Their leadership and commitment are essential to the growth and excellence of our English language teaching program. We sincerely appreciate their presence as we begin this important academic celebration. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, Dr. Juan Manuel Guel Rodríguez will deliver a few words to inaugurate this event.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you our English Week at the Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado de San Luis Potosí. His week is about practicing English, learning together, and enjoying new experiences. English helps us communicate with people from different places and opens many opportunities. As a future teachers, what you learn here will help you guide others. I invite you to practice it, ask questions, and give your best in every activity. Take this time to grow and gain confidence. Thank you to our teachers for their support and to our students for their effort and enthusiasm. Please, everyone rise. Now, I declare English Week officially open. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our authorities for being here, for initiating our event. And they must leave. Thank you very much for being here. Good morning, teachers, colleagues, and dear teacher trainees. It is a privilege to welcome you to this inaugural session of our English Major Week. Today, we begin this academic and professional gathering with a conference that speaks directly to the heart of what it means to grow as educators, your TEFL journey. It is an honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Patricia Evelyn Reynolds, a distinguished figure whose trajectory exemplifies this very commitment, a true authority in language teaching, teacher training, and professional development. Dr. Patricia Evelyn Reynolds worked in Europe and the Middle East before Mexico. Her multifaceted career has embraced language teaching, teacher education, for example, ISELT and Delta Tutor Assessor, course development, including bachelor's and master's degree in TEFL, research, publications, textbooks, administrative posts, assessment, etc. As British Council ELT Training and Development Manager with experience as examiner trainer for Cambridge exams, and international baccalaureate, difficult word, German, English, and Spanish tests, had coordinated the British Council Universidad Veracruzana Exaber project through collaboration with leading researchers from UV, Cambridge, and Roehampton universities. Pat has also coordinated training in development, production, and validation of the Sepa Ingles course and tests through collaboration with ILSE, British Council, and other major UK specialists. Currently developing an online assessment literacy course for the British Council, Instituto Politécnico Nacional. Pat still provides consultancy for Exaver and Universidad Autónoma del Estado Hidalgo. Understanding the complexity of learning processes and the diversity of learner needs remain major driving forces for Pat. So please join me in warmly welcoming Pat for this inaugural address, Your TEFL Journey.
Thank you, Kiomara, for that lovely introduction. Quisiera primero dar las gracias al director de la Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado en San Luis, Juan Manuel Rodríguez, la jefe de Departamento de Lenguas Extranjeras, maestra Michelle Hernández Castañón, la maestra Kiomara Carrillo Olvera, coordinadora de la licenciatura en Enseñanza y Aprendizaje de Inglés, a todos ustedes y también a los estudiantes del sexto semestre de la Normal Superior Federal de Aguas Calientes, especialmente al profesor José Santos Valdés y el doctor Rubén Leonardo Guerrero Macías. Bienvenidos a todos los colegas, que ya son, porque ustedes ya son profesores en capacitación. Entonces, muchas gracias por la invitación y ahora sí voy a cambiar al inglés. It's a very important year. This year, you're celebrating the 15th anniversary of the start of the BA in Teaching and Learning English here in San Luis Potosí. And I would like to share with you that it's also a very important year for me. Why? What am I celebrating? 50 years. In 1976, just about this time, I was taking my final exams and I began my professional career as a teacher of English as a foreign language 50 years ago. So for me, I'm full of gratitude for the life that I've been given and for the opportunity to share some of it with you today, all in the context of your own lives and how you plan and visualize your own futures. Coming back to the 15 years thing, over the last 15 years, teaching languages has changed. It's changed from classroom-centered teaching to hybrid and digital models. There's been a digital boom. More and more there are online courses or hybrid courses, especially after COVID. Methodological approaches, obviously have become more and more communicative. And it might surprise you to know that in the 70s, it was wow. In Europe, in the 70s, we were starting to talk about communicative language teaching. Imagine. Okay, so it's taken 50 years for it to become really universally part of the dialogue about pedagogy. Teacher development frameworks didn't exist when I was younger. However, when I analysed my life, I found that the British Council Continuous Professional Development Framework is really useful to help you plan your future. And I've sent a copy of that book to La Maestra Kiomara. So if you want to have a copy of it, an electronic copy, you can get that from Kio. What else has changed? I guess earlier and earlier beginning to study foreign languages now. We have very, very young children beginning to learn English on a much more universal basis. But that's really not very much, because with the speed of change now, things are going to change a lot more. Here are some of my predictions for what will happen in the next 15 years, not 50. There'll be more use of AI and personalization. There'll be AI chat tutors, agents who can adapt to the level of the person who is speaking to them. I think there'll be a lot more virtual reality, augmented reality, you know, with the goggles and so on. And you'll be able to use that in your classrooms as a teaching resource. And I'm really jealous because I'd like to do that too. There'll be more and more hybrid and blended models for giving courses, I think. The classroom will stay, of course, particularly in less privileged contexts. And we have to have a vision of the whole range, not just one particular context. And you can only get that vision by moving. If you stay in the same place all your life, you'll never get an idea of what it's like to live, work, teach, and learn in other places. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot more focus on critical thinking skills because actually they can get all the information from AI, and there'll be a lot more focus on intercultural understanding, both within countries and across countries, because through all of these other resources that will become available, we'll be able to access more and more remote areas in our own countries and in other countries. Teachers then are going to have to think more about becoming facilitators and coaches, guides, helping people to learn study skills and not just standing in front of the class or sitting in front of the camera and giving lessons. Okay. And that's over the next sort of 15 years or so. I think all of that will happen, and probably a lot more than that. Just imagine the changes over the next 50 years. O sea, when you're my age, que van a estar platicando cuando están aquí enfrente de un grupo. Va a ser maravilloso. Yo les voy a estar viendo desde arriba. Okay. That's what I want to share with you today, my journey. Okay. Can you see that? Okay. Can you read it? Yeah, it's legible. Okay. That's what I want to share with you today and help you to analyze different stages in a professional career in teaching English as a foreign language, and to help you to reflect on your own journey over the coming decades. I guess I've never got bored with my profession. I made a conscious decision to become a professional. And that, I'll tell you a story about that. When I arrived in Mexico in 1981, con mi maestría, obviamente, en una fiesta, somebody said to me, "So what do you do?" And I said, "I teach English as a foreign language." And that person said, "Yeah, but what do you do?" I said, "I teach English as a foreign language. I have a BA in German and Russian literature and language. I have a master's in applied linguistics, and my profession is teaching English as a foreign language." And that shows, I think, the way in which the profession has been changing over these 50 years. We are now professionals. I'll talk more about that later. I always made a conscious decision about the kind of professional I wanted to be. And there always seemed to be so many different areas in our profession to explore. And today there are even more. And I hope that you're going to think about some of these options today. If we go back to the British Council Continuous Professional Development Framework, which I find very useful, it's not the only one. There's a Cambridge one, which is equally useful, and there are others, but I can't talk about them all in one day. They talk about stages in our professional development, and what I want to do today is talk about those stages, give an example of my professional journey, help you to reflect on your professional journey, your hopes and dreams. Because some of you may not believe this, but my profession has helped me to achieve many of my hopes and dreams. Should I tell you? Yes, I will tell you. I come from a very small town. I was born in Cambridge, and everybody said, oh, wow, Cambridge. But I actually grew up in a very small town, and I was the first person in my family to go to university. So some of you will empathize with that. Some of you look at me and may think, oh, yeah, she's had it easy all her life. Believe me, no. I won't go into more detail, but it hasn't been easy. I started weekend jobs when I was not quite 14. And I also worked while I studied. And I got becas for BA, for maestria, for doctorado. So you can do it. You can do it. Okay, it's possible. And let me come back to this idea of planning. I'm going to mention several times the British Council's professional development framework, because it helps us to think about our strengths, what we enjoy most, and how we want to develop in the future. In this framework, you can see there are 4 development stages. Again, as I say, these are not black and white, okay? But in general, we can talk about stage 1, awareness of different aspects of our profession. Stage 2, familiarity, which is when you are able to apply all of your knowledge with a little more confidence. Stage 3 would be integration, where you not only apply everything you know, but you begin to help others and lead others. And then stage 4 will be specialization. So, my dear students, which stage are you in now? Students? Stage 1, right? Awareness, cool, right. Teachers, where are you? Don't be modest. I'm sure that some of you are in specialization and some of you are in integration. And that doesn't have to do with anything more than years of experience and, of course, your determination to study. Okay. So the framework talks about the 4 stages of growth, and it talks about 12 different professional practices. And I'm not going to go into all of those today. I repeat, la maestra Kiomara tiene el documento, lo pueden leer, pero no tenemos tiempo para entrar muy en detalle. So how might this work in real life? And of course, how does this make you feel now? Does it make you feel that you're facing something which is exciting, which can give you lots of opportunities? Or how does it make you feel? Anybody? You mentioned you're in the stage of awareness. Do you want to go through all of the stages, or do you think you'll feel happy just to stay in the middle somewhere? Why? Yeah. Excellent. Well, it sounds to me as if you're already on the path. Okay, excellent. Right, let's talk a little bit about my journey then, okay? What did I do first? Well, first of all, I went to Poland, communist Poland, 1976, and I worked in a university there. And we were using language laboratories. You don't even know what a language laboratory is. We didn't have cassettes. We had reel-to-reel tape recorders that we had to carry around to the classrooms. And we thought we were really lucky we had those. We had language laboratories, listen and repeat, Pavlov's dog, behaviorist language learning. And I couldn't really believe that that was the best way to learn languages. So I set up with some other English teachers, an English theatre and an English folk group. And I used to meet with my students outside of classes because I didn't think the laboratories work. Not for everyone anyway. So that was great fun. And I learned all about living in a system, a political system, which was totally different from the one that I'd grown up in. And while I was there, I met some wonderful people from the American University of Beirut. Gosh, they were wonderful. They were a tremendous influence in my life. And they said, hey, teachers are needed in Beirut, Lebanon. Why don't you come? So I said, all right then. And I applied for the job. And suddenly I found myself at the end of the Mediterranean before the Civil War. And I was able to enjoy 1 year of the Lebanon as a paradise that it used to be, where you could go in the winter skiing in the morning and come down in the afternoon and swim in the Mediterranean. But I worked. And I worked very hard. And I didn't just teach English. I also taught British life and culture. I taught British history because somebody asked me to, so I did. And I didn't know, but I studied so that I was able to do it and share it. And then I came to Mexico. I arrived here in 1981. Siempre digo que llegué para todo lo bueno el 82, o sea, los mayores me van a entender. Luego el 85 en la Ciudad de México. Pero bueno, everything has been wonderful. Everything has been a marvelous learning experience. And I started as a teacher in a private language institute in Mexico City, which was then called the Instituto Anglo-Mexicano de Cultura. Now it's called the Anglo Foundation, and it's grown, and it even has a university section. But my first job in Mexico City was at the Anglo, and I'm eternally grateful for them because it was there that I not only taught, but by 1983, I started to learn how to become a teacher trainer and a coordinator of advanced studies. So I was really lucky again. You know, these things happened and I said, okay, I'll learn, I'll do it. And I made many, many mistakes. But I think the most important thing that I learned there is that when you become a trainer, you never, ever, ever stop learning, because every year there's new research which you need to keep up to date with, because otherwise estás engañando a tus estudiantes. O sea, si les enseñas siempre lo que pasó hace 50 años. No. So it's a wonderful way to go. Now let's think about you. You're at this stage now, aren't you, of classroom foundations, awareness and familiarity. And when you graduate, you'll continue to be in that phase. Now, this is where I want you to just talk for a couple of minutes to someone who's sitting close to you. You don't have to expose and talk in front of the whole group, but just talk to somebody who's sitting next to you about where you think you will be for the first stage of your career, what do you think you'll be doing? Okay, 2 minutes to do that now. Now. For those who are well beyond that stage, you can talk about where you were. Couple of direct questions then. Who visualizes themselves as staying in the capital during this first stage of their career? Who thinks that they will stay in the capital for the first stage, for the first, I don't know, 2, 4, 5 years? Okay. Who wants to do something different? What do you want to do? Muy bien, seguir preparándote. Ok, no pararle allí. Muy bien, muy bien. Yo terminé mi maestría con 25, creo. Entonces a lo mejor vas a hacer algo así. You're going to, oh, wow. And your school is going to be different? How is it going to be different? It will come to you as you study. It will come to you. Somebody else had a hand up over here. Ya no se van a atrever. I did see another hand over here. Okay. Does anybody? Yes. Tell me. Oye, ¿dónde queda tu pueblo? ¿Es por ahí, por Tula o por dónde? ¡Ah, Tula! Me encanta Tula. Sí. La familia de mi marido es de parte de su papá, de Burgos, originalmente, que también es un... Qué padre. Okay, so already starting to think. Some of you, I hope, will go to rural areas. Some of you, I hope, will go to areas where you can make contact with original peoples. You have many in the state of San Luis Potosí. You don't have to go beyond the state and begin to engage in a more multicultural life, which will make your life richer and more exciting. Okay, so let's move on then. And what did the next phase of my journey look like? Here we are. Okay, it's already there. So when I left my first, mustn't move because of the camera. I left my first job at the Anglo in order to work in a bicultural school, because I thought that the best way to understand a culture, and I was loving being in Mexico. This was only 1985. And I thought the best way to understand the culture better is to actually live and work in a school, not in a language institution. Okay, a language institute, which is lovely, But the thing about language institutes is that you're so privileged because everybody goes there because they want to or because their parents are paying for them to go. Entonces les conviene sacar buenos resultados. And it's a different life, as you know, in a school. And a long story short, basically I loved it there. And I became deputy principal of secundaria. And then if it hadn't been for one of those awful things that happen all over the world, where there's a kind of, how can I say that politely? Institutional grilla. It became very uncomfortable. And so I went back to the Anglo and said, can I have my old job back? And not only did I get my old job back, but I got a directorship. So first of all, I was a director of one sucursal. And then they said, estamos reestructurando. Queremos que te encargues de 3 sucursales. So then I was a director of 3 sucursales, which was quite a shock and very, very difficult. And you know what I learned in that? In those years, I learned I don't want to be a director of an institution. I don't. Because it takes you away. I remember one day when I was walking around one of the institutions, checking to see if there was toilet paper in the bathrooms because a student came and complained. And I thought, you know what? This is not what I studied my master's for. I don't need to be here checking whether there's toilet paper in the bathrooms. And then there was another reestructuración y se suponía que yo iba a invitar a que se liquidaran algunos de mis compañeros muy queridos. Entonces, no, eso no es para mí, no puedo. Entonces, regresé al Anglo. Y perdón, me perdí el hilo. Entonces, esta vida de directora no me gustó y surgió otra oportunidad porque yo nunca dejé de meterme en la capacitación. Sorry, wrong language. I never stopped teacher training. And I got into an agreement with the British Council to help them in the 90s to begin a national teacher training program with the SEP, Educación Superior, in Federal, and the British Council, the various British organizations. And so I started to become involved in all of these other things. So I guess that was the foundation for my stage 2. Now, is it too early to ask you where you think you might be after you've got your initial experience and consolidated? And again, maestros, colegas, o sea, pueden hablar de lo que ustedes hicieron en esta segunda fase, ¿no? Pensando en retrospectivamente. We can all think about it. What do you think? I mean, again, maybe this time you could turn around and talk to a person behind you so that you talk to a different person and think about whether your strengths will take you into training, into administration, into direction, into something more international, porque hoy en día hay tantas posibilidades. There are so many possibilities for an international experience. So 2 minutes then, turn around and talk about your strengths and where you think you will go. Okay, let me interrupt you. Thank you. And let me ask you a couple of direct questions. Is there something that you know you definitely don't want to be doing in stage 2? Something you definitely don't want to be doing? Administrative work, I hear over here. Why? Yeah. Yes. It's stimulating, isn't it? If you give, and my dears, if you give, you receive so much. And yeah, you don't want to be checking if there are toilet rolls in the bathrooms. I mean, you have more than that to give. And is there anybody who has already identified something that they're starting to dream of for that next stage? And would you be brave enough to share it with us? Yeah, yeah. Ah, that's wonderful, isn't it? Because if you get international experience, it doesn't just expand your professional skills and knowledge and competence. In my experience, it makes you a more compassionate human being. Because, you know, I'm going to use a big word here. Have you heard about the social construction of reality? The social, that means that we believe in a reality which has been constructed by the society where we grow up. And we believe that that's right. And the only way to, I'm not saying it's wrong, don't get me wrong, but the only way to question it is to live in other contexts and to actually experience feeling, hey, but I was told X. And here the children are taught Y. So which is A, right? Does it just depend on where we grow up and who our parents are, who our school leaders are, who our politicians are? Or is there something richer than that? Is there a way in which we can become more compassionate and more understanding human beings? And that's something, just imagine, just going back to, I was lucky, I was blessed, and I'm grateful. A communist political system, an Arab political system, a Mexican political system, and then international work, which brings me to my stage 3. Now, obviously, it's early for you, for most of you, to be thinking about this next stage. However, there's nothing wrong with dreaming. So what happened then? I got involved in these national projects, big projects, which took me to every state in Mexico, to other countries in Latin America, even went to China, because the British Council in China was doing some projects and they sent me to learn from what was happening in China. That was in 2003. And I walked along the Great Wall of China, all because I'm an English teacher. ¿Sí me entienden? I was like, it's amazing what you can do if you keep your eyes open. And yeah, the next one would be, I guess, oh yeah, I've jumped something here, but that's fine. That's fine. Full integration, I think it's fine because of the time, Gio. Can you leave it there? International consulting. I went to Cuba 4 times because I learned about self-access centres, and they wanted a self-access centre project in Cuba. British Council or the American organisation, they're great ways to get international experience. And most of the trainers in Mexico are Mexican at the British Council. Of course, they bring people over from different countries, not only from Britain, but most of the people who go out to do training in Los Estados are actually Mexicans as well. So there's another message there. You need to keep training yourself. And I haven't been going on and on about the importance of continuing your own studies. But obviously I've been doing that, and I'm actually on a course at the moment. Believe it or not, I'm on an online course at the moment. And you never stop, really. What else? Let's see. Specialized courses, international consulting. Next, please. Okay, what we got here. And I guess in the next stage, I've jumped on, I think, really to the stage that I'm in now, because I'm aware that we have a time limit today. Okay. And also you might start to get a bit bored, but because I insist it's not about me, it's about thinking about where you might go in the future. That's the big thing. Okay, so now I guess I would say that I'm in the phase of specialization in different areas, because in the meantime, I also had other opportunities. I did my PhD, I did research, I became a researcher, publications, all kinds of things like that. No? So think about that. If you like research, go on and become a researcher. If you want to be a practical research person, think about action research in your classroom and how you can improve your teaching by doing regular interventions to improve the learning results of your students. So I don't know what you will be doing in stage 4, and I do think it's too far to think of that in a concrete way. But it's never too early to start dreaming about where you might go. Because, you know, they say that if you can imagine something, you can achieve it. So if you can imagine a future for yourself, you can achieve it, because you will begin to plan the steps to achieve it for yourself. Actually, well, if I'm honest, we were in, I guess I was doing this kind of thing from about 2010 on. So that means sort of 2011, when the BA was starting here, I was still doing that. And I think we'll skip to my stage 5. Okay, so what do I do now? I think basically this is what I do now. I try to help other people. So I help other people with their MA research. I help other people with their PhD research. Don't think that I think I'm a sort of wonderful person or anything. The thing is that if you help somebody with their research, you learn too. So you learn from them. So your students become your teachers and you become their guides or their mentors, because you have more experience. So you can help them with, por ejemplo, structuring a piece of research, but they're the ones that have to do the research and the investigation, and it pushes you to help them look for updated references and so on. So actually helping other people, also helping other people to design. Recently, I helped a public university in Coahuila to design a new BA in teaching English as a foreign language. I've participated in helping to design maestrías in teaching English as a foreign language. And all the time you're learning, because nobody has the ultimate answer. You can read, you can get the theory, but then you have to know the context and you have to know what is possible in that context. So we never have an answer. We always have to explore and to keep learning together with our colleagues who are developing an innovation. By the way, anybody like to guess what my PhD research was in? Now that you know me a bit better. Innovation in foreign language teaching and how to make it last. Because people come in with innovations and everything's wonderful, and then there's a change of administration and all gone. How to make innovation last. And that is a fascinating area. But I'm talking too much. Let's move on. Okay, move on, please. That one. Okay. I'm going back to the beginning now. I mentioned the British Council Continuous Professional Development Framework. And these are the 12 principles that it focuses on, that you can, the 12 areas, processes, that you can actually decide to focus on and develop. And when you make it concrete in this way, it makes it a lot more fun. Now, I know that everybody in this room will have their own journey. And there are some things that I'd like to share with you that have helped me in my journey. At the beginning, I put some afirmaciones. I will. ¿Se acuerdan de las afirmaciones? Now I would like to quote, and I can't remember where the quote comes from. I'm sorry, my memory is not so good these days. But don't teach your children in exactly the same way that you were taught, because they will live in a completely different world. That doesn't mean that you throw out all the values and principles that you learned as a child. No, it doesn't. But it means having the ability to look outside and look at what are the skills that are going to help them in their lives, which will be very different from yours. So when I work with young people like yourselves, I don't teach you exactly what I learned. I try to get you to look for the latest information en las áreas que yo sí estudié al inicio, okay? And to be open to learning for the rest of your life. Some of my predictions then will be, do you remember what I said? What did I say at the beginning of the session? What will happen over the next 15 years or so? Does anybody remember? Great. In what ways can you think of and remember any of the things I mentioned? AI, I think we need to learn how to use it to make the experience richer, not be afraid that it's going to replace us. Because there will be things, I believe, that we still need to do with another human being. No? So AI and bots and virtual reality and augmented reality, hybrid and blended learning models, not so much of a focus on the forms of the language, but more of a focus on analysis, on thinking. We need to learn more about ethics, about AI ethics in education as well. And we need to exploit AI Because even if our students in a small community in the corner of Tamaulipas are not able to participate in a physical international exchanges, all over the internet now, that you can find opportunities for online exchanges. So to make contact with people of their own age in different countries all around the globe and to become interculturally aware. And I think that from me to you is almost an encomienda, because you can help your students to have that international experience now without going so far out of your own home. Now let us skip until this one, okay, which is a summary of what might be your visual map for your future. Now let me just give you a moment to read that in your head. Do some of these things resonate in you? Thank you. Some of these might be some of the areas that you would like to go into. Have you finished reading them? Next, please. You see, again, sharing a bit of experience from an old lady. Personal growth is not just a matter of learning new things. It's a matter of unlearning some of the things that you learned in the past in order to learn more relevant things for the future. And with all humility, I think I've been very, very lucky to be able to do that. And I wish you a life which is even more exciting than my own. Thank you very much. Questions, comments?
The comment that left you mentioned was that is on my mind, and I could take on consideration for my future is when how do we know that we are learning or we fully learn if we stayed in the same place? And because we in that case we hadn't like explored other contexts or other situations that could like open our perspective. So that is something that I will take on consideration. So yeah. Ulises. Ulises. Okay.
Well, I would like to know if in one moment of your entire career you had a moment when you said, "Well, I'm done. I don't want to keep doing this," or what keep you like having the focus on what you were doing? Sorry, Luis. My name is Luis. Yes. Thank you.
Like a question, like what about your like next challenge or next step about your life? Valeria.
Thank you very much for this insightful talk. Your reflections have not only provided us with valuable perspectives, but have also invited us to critically reflect on our own paths as educators. You have reminded us that professional growth is an ongoing dynamic process, one that requires dedication, openness, and a genuine commitment to lifelong learning. On behalf of the English major at Pecene, we extend our deepest gratitude for sharing your expertise, your experience, and above all, your passion for the field. Your words will resonate both our faculty and our teacher trainees as they continue to build their own professional identities. On a personal note, my sincere appreciation for your mentorship, your guidance, and continued support. You have forever been a helping hand, a shoulder to cry on, and a friend. It has truly been an honor to have you with us today. Thank you once again.
Voy a dar lectura a la constancia. La Benemérita y Centenario Escuela Normal del Estado, a través de la Dirección Académica, otorga la presente constancia a la doctora Patricia Evelyn Reynolds por impartir la conferencia inaugural Your TEFL Journey, actividad desarrollada en la Sala de Conferencias de la Unidad Educativa, dirigida a estudiantes de la licenciatura en Enseñanza y Aprendizaje del Inglés de esta institución. Firma la maestra Vianey Covarrubias Cervantes, directora académica de la ABCN, y el doctor Juan Manuel Guel Rodríguez, director general de la ABCN.
I just want to say thank you. And I forgot that there were moments when I forgot that this talk was being actually videoed. I hope that everything was clear for you, and I wish you a wonderful life, everybody. Thank you.
Ladies, gentlemen, can you please go into the QR and answer the survey, please?